Hey, what's up guys? In this video we're going to be taking a look at a dash cam, and specifically the black box G1W-C Dashcam. It's a very popular dash cam. It is nice and affordable, it's got great quality, and it's one that a lot of RDF members have, so I wanted to go ahead and just do a review of it. I started doing a little bit of research and it turns out it's actually really popular. If you look on Dashcam Talk, a really popular dash cam review site, it's one of their best bang for the buck dash cams. Additionally, on Jalopnik, they voted it as like their favorite dash cam from all their different readers, so it was one that's really popular and I wanted to go ahead and test it. So I've got one here in my car now. I've been driving around with it for a couple months and I wanted to go ahead and give you my impressions of the dash cam, show you what it's like, show you some sample footage and all that good stuff. So let's jump right into it. Now, unlike a GoPro or something, this is actually a dedicated dash cam. It is a little bit different, meaning it's a camera that's designed to be installed in your car pretty much permanently. When you start up your car, the camera fires up automatically and it begins recording. You don't have to turn it on, you don't have to press the record button, it does that automatically. Additionally, once you're done driving, the camera automatically shuts off. So it's designed to be kind of running in the background, totally hands-free, and you don't mess with it, so you always have a camera recording when you're driving. Additionally, if the memory card gets full, it'll actually start to overwrite some of the previous old dash cam footage. It doesn't just go, I'm full, and stop recording. That way, you know, you can just leave it in forever, and then it'll always have the most recent stuff actually saved for you so you can pull it off the memory card. Now, taking a look at this dash cam in particular, in short, I actually quite like it. It shoots at 1080p and 30 FPS. You can also do 720p at 60 FPS or 30 FPS if you like, for smaller file sizes or smoother footage. The video quality is actually quite good. In the daytime, it's great. It's excellent. Videos look great. It's easy to read license plates. Even if the weather gets a little bit cloudy, the videos actually still look really good. At night, the video quality is actually quite good as well. It does get a little bit grainier and it's a little bit harder to read license plates, but that's pretty typical. So at night it's pretty okay, but really it excels in the daytime and does an okay job at night. That's basically the idea with the video quality with this one. Now, as far as the audio quality is great too. It's really nice. It's a big upgrade compared to my old cameras. It's really clear. It's easy to hear conversations in the car, or if I'm listening to music, or my radar detector is going off, or if any audio is going on in the cabin, it's nice and easy to hear it. Even, you know, if I'm on the highway. You can also hear stuff going on around you better than I could with some of my previous cameras. So the audio is definitely improved. I also really like the price of this camera. You can find it online for about 50 to 60 bucks or so, which is really not a lot. My other cameras, I think I spent 200 something each, you know, so this is a much less expensive one. It's much more affordable, which means it's open to a lot of people to actually get one of these. Now, in the box, it actually comes with all the basic stuff that you would need, including your power cable that plugs into your cigarette lighter, a nice long cable so you can actually run it, you know, around your trim in your car. It comes with a USB cable so you can plug it into your computer, but usually I just pop the memory card out of the camera and plug that into my computer directly. It comes with a suction cup mount to your windshield, so you can just mount it directly. It makes it easy if you need to move it from vehicle to vehicle, but as a suction cup mount, it is actually a little bit longer than maybe a different type of mount, which is designed for more permanent installation. They also do make like a rear view mirror mount if you actually want to clamp it to your rear view mirror. It's an option that you can get as well. It doesn't come with it, but if you want, you can get one of those too. I'll put a link in the video description if you'd want to mount it that way. One thing that it doesn't come with is a Hardwire cable. So again, a dash cam is designed to be installed permanently, and if you don't want it to be installed, you know, and plugged into your cigarette lighter, you can use a Hardwire cable. You can find one on Amazon for like 10 bucks or so. They're cheap. I would definitely recommend getting one of those. I'll put a link in the video description to that as well if you'd want to get a Hardwire cable and you don't want to use the cigarette lighter cable. This camera does not have GPS available, so it's not going to be able to tell you where you're driving or how fast you're going. There's no Wi-Fi, so it's not going to integrate with your phone, and there's also no parking mode built in, so it's designed to be used primarily when you're driving. On the back of the camera, it does have an LCD. It's a 2.7-inch LCD, which actually makes it really easy to frame the camera and get it aimed exactly the way you want. Make sure it's straight, it's pointed in the right direction, and everything, and that's actually really useful. I like that feature a lot. You also have the ability to play back footage right on the camera. So let's say you get into an accident, knock on wood, right there you can actually play back the footage right on the camera and see what happened. Either take a look yourself, show it to police, the other guy, etc. So you've got a screen there to be able to watch what's going on. Now, as far as memory cards, officially it supports up to a 32 gig micro SD card. Some people are actually using it with a 64 gig card. There is a trick to doing that. You got to format it to FAT32, and I'll put a link in the video description to how you actually set it up with the 64 gig card, but it's compatible officially with up to a 32 gig card. So that'll give you plenty of runtime to actually record all of your footage. Now, the way that the footage works is it's going to completely fill up your card, and then once it's full, it's going to start overwriting any of the old footage. You can actually enable the G sensor, for example. So let's say you get into an accident, you don't want that to happen, or you know, the camera is like, it's impacted in some way. You could even, you know, hit the camera yourself. If it senses this shock, it'll actually mark this as an event and not delete that footage. So if you want to save any events like that, you can do that. And a lot of people will actually kind of bump their camera by hand to save a footage if there's something that happened on the road that they want to save for later. Personally, I don't use this feature. On my old cameras, I found it too sensitive, and it would mark like whenever I went over a speed bump or hit a pothole or anything. So I never really used it too much. So I haven't actually used that feature with this camera, but it is something that would come in handy if you need that feature. One thing I like is that you have the ability to remove all of the text on the display. You could actually hide the time, the date, any sort of extraneous text on screen. You can get rid of all of it and have just the video, which I actually like that a lot. You also do have the ability to run it with you know, just the time and date, for example, so you've got that option. Some cameras have a whole bunch of junk on the display and you just can't turn it off, and I find that really annoying. So that's actually a feature I was looking for specifically, was the ability to run just the time and date, or remove everything from the screen altogether, and this camera can run it both ways, so I like that a lot. As far as the size of the camera, it's actually a pretty thin camera front to back. The lens actually does stick out in the front a bit. Looking at it from behind, it's actually a pretty wide camera because it's got the LCD screen on the back, it's got the buttons on the side for navigating through the menus, etc. So it is a bit of a wider camera, but if you're running it, you know, behind your rear view mirror or whatever, chances are you're never going to notice anyways. So it's not the most discreet camera ever. If you do want the tiniest camera possible, you're probably going to want to look for something else. But in terms of a compact camera that you know, does a good job and has good video quality, this one does seem like it fits the bill. One thing that I like is you can actually disable all of the audio when it starts up, so it's not bugging you in the background and just being extra beeps and noises, you know, when your car starts up or shuts down. So I actually like that ability. However, if you forget to put a memory card in the camera, it's not going to warn you. So let's say you take the card out of the camera to, you know, save some of the footage you saw on your last drive, go to your computer and offload that card. If you forget to take that card back to your camera, you will get a warning message on the display of the screen. It'll tell you, but you're not going to get any audio indication. So unless you're actually looking at the camera, you're not going to know that there's no memory card in there and that you're not actually recording anything. So that's something that you do need to be aware of, is you know, you're not going to actually be getting those audio beeps. Now, once you actually get the video files saved, you can actually break them up into different increments as far as how long each chunk of video is recorded to. You've got a couple different options. When there's several different video files, they're not going to be actually identically, like one stops and the other one starts. There's actually about a 1 second overlap between the two videos. So what's going to happen is if you try to watch the videos, it's going to play one video and then it's going to back up a second and then it's going to start from the next video clip. So there is about a second of overlap. So when you do go into your video editor to actually, you know, stitch the clips together, you're going to have to make sure you trim off a second, either from the end of one video clip or the beginning of another one. There are some dash cameras where there's physically a gap between of just missed footage. So this camera, that's not the case. It's not like a clean break. It's actually a second of overlap between the two different clips. Now, are there any issues with the camera and problems? Yeah, I actually did run across a couple. Now, this is actually a used camera. It's not a brand new one. This was a loaner that was sent to me by a forum member on RDF, by TXLE. Texas Lee. So big thank you, by the way, for letting me test out with your camera. Now, this particular one actually did have a little bit of a crack in the mount itself where it connects to the suction cup mount. And because of that, there's a little bit of wobble and play in the dash cam itself, and so I could actually pick up some vibration while I'm actually driving around. My fix for it was to actually put a rubber band around the mount and the camera itself to give it a little bit more stabilization, which helped to some degree. Now, obviously, a new camera is not going to have this issue. I don't know as far as the durability of the mount or anything like that, but I have heard a couple other people reading at dashcam forums online saying that they've detected some kind of wobbliness and vibration from their mounts as well. So kind of something to be aware of in that respect. One issue that I run into actually quite a bit, like about half the time I start up my car, is that the camera actually says that there's no memory card inserted when there actually is. It was kind of confusing at first. I thought, like, did I forget to put it in, or did I not insert it properly? But it's actually in there properly, and no joke, like half the time I start up my car, my camera doesn't actually fire up properly because it says there's no card in there. I can actually turn off my car and then turn it right back on just to power off the camera and power it back up, and then it begins working just fine. So it's a little bit weird. There's no audio warning, you know, when it says it has no card, when it thinks it has no card. Whether you turn the sounds on the camera on or off, either way, you don't get any indication if there is no card in the camera. So unless you actually see the blue screen in the back of the camera, you're not going to know that anything is going on. So that's kind of weird. I don't think that's a typical issue. I haven't seen a lot of complaints about that online, but that is something that I ran into, for better or for worse. Another thing that I ran across was the inability to actually set the day and month in the camera. When you're driving around, you can actually display the time and the date on the camera itself. You can also turn that off if you like. But to go in and set, you know, the time and date, I was only actually able to program the year, but not the month or the day. I could do the time, but not the month or the day. It was really weird. So it's for that reason I've actually been driving around primarily with the time and date turned off on the camera, because otherwise it was going to be displaying it wrong, you know? Now, as I was playing around, I figured out there's actually a way to do it. What you have to do is there's two ways to actually display the date. There's kind of the American way, and there's the international way. If you had it set up the American way, where it's going to be month, day, year, when you set it up that way, you actually can't go in and change the month and the day. It's really weird. But if you change it to the international version is going to be year, month, day. If you switch it to that format for whatever reason, then I'm able to actually go in and change the month and the day. So it's kind of weird. I'm glad I found kind of a workaround for it. I don't know why that's an issue. I think it's a bug, but whatever. With this camera, there's no firmware updates available with it. It's version 1.0 of the firmware, so it does look like it's a bug in the software. Now, this wouldn't be too big of a deal because you'd be able to, like, you know, just set it once and then switch it back to American mode and it's fine, you know? There is an issue. There's not a little battery inside the camera, so if you're not driving for a couple days, it's actually going to forget the date and time and kind of reset itself. And so that time will actually be wrong if you haven't driven your car for a couple days, and that can be kind of annoying even if you're not displaying the time and date on the camera. And the reason is, let's say you're driving around and you come across something that you want to you know, later you want to go back to your dash cam and pull off that footage and save it, right? It could be a radar detector save or an accident in front of you, whatever it is, right? There's something you want to pull off your footage. Now, it's all set up by timestamp, you know, in different increments. So you can just go and say, like, oh, I noticed something, it was 12:02 p.m. And I'm just going to make a mental note, and when I go back to my dash cam footage, I'm just going to go back to 12:02 p.m. and find that footage. If the time is wrong, then it becomes a lot tougher to actually go back and find that footage. You have to remember, you know, okay, what day was I driving? What part of my drive was it in? Was I maybe 2 hours into my drive or whatever? So you have to go hunt actually for the footage. It's a little bit tougher if the time and date is inaccurate. So even if you're not displaying it on the camera footage itself, it is nice to have just to help make it easier to find the footage, you know? So it is a little bit weird that you can't go in and change it in American mode, but whatever, at least there is a bit of a workaround. Now, this whole thing about there not being an internal battery, let's talk about that, because there's actually 4 different versions of this camera. Now, the versions are all pretty similar, but they basically get broken up into 2 different categories. They either come with a battery or a capacitor, or they come with a, you know, like a standard case, it's kind of silver and black, or a completely blacked out case. I prefer the case that's completely blacked out. It's more stealthy, it's more low-key, it's not as reflective in your windshield, and it's not going to be as obvious to other people, whether it's thieves or other drivers or whatever. I prefer a more blacked out case, right? Now, as far as the capacitor or the battery, let's talk about that real quick. So the idea is, let's say you get into a car accident, right? Knock on wood. You do need your camera to actually record after the camera loses power, right? So in impact, you could actually lose power. The power cable could come out or whatever. So you want the camera to actually have its own reserve of battery power to continue recording for the time after the accident, right? Now, you can either have a battery or a capacitor inside the camera. There's pros and cons to each one. A battery lasts a lot longer, so it can give you a couple minutes of recording time, you know, after the camera loses power, so you've got a lot more recording time. The camera also has like a camera mode, so you could actually take the camera out of your car and walk around and take pictures or shoot video or something. I don't think it's too big of a deal. Just use your cell phone, whatever, you know. But you do have the battery inside. The issue with the battery is that in high temperatures, the battery can actually leak or even potentially explode inside the camera. So if you're driving in an area where it's really hot, or like even, you know, during the day you park your car in the sun, it gets really hot, that's not good for the battery. Additionally, the battery is also going to degrade over time and it loses its capacity, you know. So the alternative is to have a capacitor inside the camera. And a capacitor is kind of like a battery, but it's meant for shorter term usage. And the idea with the capacitor is, rather than having having several minutes of recording time, you only have a couple seconds, right? So, you know, in case of an accident or whatever, the camera can keep recording for a couple seconds, and then after a couple seconds, it loses power and it turns itself off. So you get a couple seconds of recording time after the camera loses power. The benefit is that the capacitor is much better in higher temperatures. So if you live in an area where there's a lot of sun, it gets really hot, you park your car in the sun a lot, the capacitor version is the one to get. So it's more popular in many places for that reason. Additionally, the longevity is supposed to be a lot better than compared to the battery, which can kind of degrade its performance over time. So generally, a lot of people would wind up going for the capacitor version. And if you want a stealthy version, you're going to want the black version, right? So let's go ahead and talk about all 4 different versions of the camera, because it's basically a combination of battery or capacitor, black or silver and black. Now the camera that I've got is the G1W-C. So it's the G1W, the camera, -C, which is for the capacitor version. If you want the battery version, that's just the G1W. So G1W is the battery version, G1W-C is the capacitor version. Now, if you want the black version of the camera that we've been talking about, that's the G1W-C B. So the B is for black, okay? Now, if you want the black version of the battery version of the camera, that's going to be the G1W-H. Not B, it's weird, it's H. With that camera, you actually do have a little bit of a difference. The case design is a little bit different, and additionally, with the black version of the battery version of the camera, the G1W-H, the field of view is actually a little bit wider, so you have a wider field of view of the road ahead by about 20 degrees more. So the other cameras are a little bit more narrow. That one is a little bit wider. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to do that, but that is a difference with the G1W-H compared to all of the other cameras. So that's basically the breakdown of the 4 different versions. Pick whichever one you want. In the video description, I'm going to put links to all 4 of the different ones, so you can choose whichever one you want. There's also going to be links to you know, different countries. So whether you live in the States, you live in Canada, you live overseas in the UK, for example, there's going to be a couple different links you'll find in the video description, so you can purchase the appropriate camera in the appropriate location. You'll also find the links down there to you know, the Hardwire cable or the memory cards that you'll want, or maybe the Rearview mirror mount or any sort of accessories. I'm going to put that down there as well, just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to find the camera and the different accessories that you need. So awesome. That's pretty much my take on the camera. I think it's a nice, affordable camera. Again, it's only like 50 to 60 bucks, which is awesome. Pick up your memory card, hardwire it if you want. You can use a cigarette lighter and hardwire it that way if you want. And actually, that's actually what I do for a lot of my things. I've got a cigarette lighter splitter actually tucked inside of my car, and then I can easily just plug in a cigarette lighter plug down there, and it's tucked out of the way, and now I can hardwire stuff by using a cigarette lighter, so kind of a cool trick. So anyways, that's my take on the camera. I can understand why it's so popular. It's got great quality, doesn't cost a lot of money, the screen works well, and pretty simple and easy in that respect. You know, like, yeah, you can get nicer cameras that have maybe better nighttime quality or offer GPS or that kind of stuff, but this one seems to be a really good bang for the buck as far as offering a lot of good video quality, audio quality, and not a ton of cash. So there you go. There's my take on the camera, and I guess just to finish things up, what we'll do is I'll play some more sample footage, you know, that way you can get a feel for the camera in daytime, nighttime, different lighting conditions, all that kind of stuff. So awesome. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, more information in the video description as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Begin the playback of the footage. Oh shit. Yeah, I saw that one coming. Ooh. Oh my god. So it depends, you know. Sometimes they'll say, well, we have auto leads. Oh. Wow, dude. Wow. That was a mistake. That happened. Yeah. So, you know, I might go. What the fuck was that?